Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for my morning inspirational walk. I just want to go ahead and jump right into what I want to talk about this morning. I'm thanking God for another day that I get to see the beauty of what His hands create in this world, in my kids, and in myself. So I'm thanking God for that. For 2 weeks straight, we talked about what is depression. How do you know when you're depressed? What's the difference in just being sad and having a bad day? What's the difference? And I kept giving you guys the definitions that doctors have come up with that are posted on, reputable sites or whatever, because for the life of me, I couldn't put my own definition together. It's just crazy. It's so crazy. It was like the one thing that was just holding me up in a certain process, because I'm doing this for a book, I'm doing this for research, I'm doing this for a reason, to create awareness, which means I have to have a certain level of understanding of it, even within myself. That's what makes the difference. It's not enough that we just regurgitate what everybody says. We have to look within ourselves. This is why sometimes God allows us to go through things. Now I have a certain level of insight regarding this situation, and I can speak from a certain level, so I have to really look within myself to try to get an understanding of that. So, this morning, sometimes the wee hour of the morning, God just be talking to me. It's so crazy. So, this morning, God was just showing me things in my life and how I've come to the realization of them. Basically, I've been going through depression for probably over half of my life. And it's crazy because I never recognized certain things. I was never ever able to just put it together because I didn't have information about this. I just thought that what I was doing was who I am and just a part of life. I didn't even think that it was wrong. I didn't even think that, not that it was wrong, but that it was dangerous. So, basically at certain times throughout my life, I would really, really, really alienate myself. And just totally alienate myself. Totally unproductive. It doesn't matter what I was doing, how excited I was about doing that before. When this certain time came around, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I could not finish, complete, continue to come, whatever, be a part of this. And I recognize it even in my teenage years. And I would not just not do it and be doing something else. I would be doing nothing. I would do absolutely nothing. Just nothing. And I would be very sad. And it would always be for different reasons, but it would be such a great sadness. Such a great sadness. And over the years, I haven't really kept up with why I did certain things. I wasn't even paying attention to it because I guess I hadn't recognized the pattern But now I do. And I recognize that it wasn't so much the situation that was going on. It was me trying to find a reason, trying to justify, trying to just make it make sense within myself why I wasn't, oh, these dogs, why I couldn't do anything, why I was sad or whatever. And it's just been a few times that it has really stood out to me like, hey, Candace, that's kind of, now, that was kind of scary that time when you was sad that way. You know, it would just like kind of come across my mind real quickly and just real nonchalant, not even a serious concern. It would just be like, wow, you really was sad. You really was sad. You really was different than how you normally are. So it was very scary realizing that too. It was very scary because it was very scary to know that there was a part of me that I was unaware of, that I didn't really recognize, like, oh wow, you do that. You know, that was crazy. So that is what let me know that what I was dealing with was different. So when they're saying, you know, it's a different type of sadness, that is the best way that I can explain it. You know, it was different. It was deep. It was a deep sadness. It was a sadness that was so much a part of me, I didn't even recognize it as being, like, we can tell in our physical when we're sick. We recognize all of these symptoms. They've shared the information with us so much that we recognize it and say, hey, I got a fever, I have diarrhea, I have night sweats, I have vomiting, I have this, I must have the flu. You know, we know certain symptoms so much, especially women. You know, we know about symptoms of pregnancy and whatever. It's just that, you know, we know when our monthly is coming on because we know the signs and symptoms. They've shared that with us, so we don't really have to, you know, think so much about certain things. But then when it comes to our mental state and being healthy mentally, we don't really know the signs. We don't really know how to express, to tell you what to look for. And you know, research even shows that within the African American community, it's different. It shows up differently. So much so that they don't even have it pinpointed yet as to what are the differences. They just know that it's showing up differently, and because we don't have conversations like this, because no one wants to talk about it, there's not enough research to put it all together and say, okay, these are the common factors. There's not even enough of that. It's not even enough of a conversation, you know, taking place enough to know what's going on within our community, what's going on within us mentally. We have a lot of health things that, you know, have been brought to light, such as diabetes and, you know, sugar and high blood pressure. We know now that that's associated with our foods. And if we change our diets, we change that. Bam. But for how long did people not even know? They didn't even know what was taking place, you know? They didn't know why certain things were happening the way they were. So, this is why this is important. It's why it's important to Just like be totally honest and taking time with yourself, getting to know you better, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly, and being able to do something about it. I feel empowered because now I can recognize it and get ahead of it and do whatever I feel I have to do to stay up. You know, I don't have to succumb to it. I don't just have to, oh, I guess it's that time for me to be sad again. So let me go be sad. I don't want to sit around and do that. So now that I recognize it, hey, I can look for the symptoms and the signs, and I can do whatever the doctor prescribes the same way we do when we know, okay, the doctor said, we tell them what we're feeling and they check us out, and then they confirm it, and then they prescribe medicine and you get better. And it's the same thing. It is the same thing. You don't have to stay, you know, dealing with all of that emotional baggage that we just feel like, oh, I guess it's just my burden to carry. This is my cross to carry. This is my thorn in the side. This is just what I have to deal with, I guess. No, we don't. We don't just have to. Knowledge is power. So to receive this knowledge and to know that there are ways that we can work through things, it doesn't have to be this silent killer, because a lot of secrets are just silent killers within the family, and it's just killing people, you know, seeing certain things and witnessing things within the family and having to just be silent about it. It's killing people on the inside like a cancer, and we don't have to live like that no matter what it is. If you're willing, if you ain't too prideful, if you ain't too stubborn, if you ain't too good, too big, too bad to work things out, to sit down and actually talk like adults, then you can get through it. But a lot of us don't want to do that. We want to argue, be right, scream, yell, all of that stuff, and it doesn't get us anywhere but in all of these dysfunctional relationships. And it's teaching our kids. We're teaching them, you know, we're teaching them terrible ways to communicate with the people that we love and care about. We should not be communicating with them through yells and cuss words and name callings. No, that is not adult behavior. It's not. But we've seen it so much till it's just become what you do, how you behave, and it's not the right way, and it's not the better way, and it's just wrecking lives. So partly a lot of our dysfunction within all types of relationships is communication, how we're communicating with people, and it starts with how we're communicating within ourselves, how we're talking to ourselves, how are we loving to ourselves. We're not. This is why it is still a mental issue. We're not loving to ourselves. We're actually very horrible to ourselves. So we have to work on the self-hate, and the self-care, and self-love. So that's my difference on what is depression.